right, welcome back. So we're on the final diagnostic criterion, criterion B. This is the behavior problems. Why do they do this? I don't know why. This is all kind of there. That's better. All right. So chapter 9, acrimonious magnificence. The four grandiose traits are extremely similar and one bleeds into the next. I've used the first to describe two behavioral tendencies that I feel are underrated or overlooked as being the result of underlying narcissism, then used the last three to piggyback off of one another. So this, I may explicate this, but just to make this clear what I'm doing here. These next behaviors, if I'm remembering correctly, these are things that you probably know people who do that. But so I'm doing the reverse. I'm not saying that these are exemplary of narcissism. I'm saying that something closer to like all narcissists do this shit. Not that all people who do this are narcissists. So just as an FYI, because like I said, a lot of this stuff is things. I forgot because my phone is actually dying. It's at below 20%, so we're going to just be stuck on low power mode. So, anyway, as I was saying, right, this is not intended to mean that everybody who does these things is a narcissist. It's that narcissists are prone to doing these things, okay? They expect everything handed to them on a silver platter. Narcissistic entitlement manifests in ways that are both easy to spot but hard to take seriously. I don't think narcissistic entitlement is an intentional or conscious feeling so much as it's an actual sense for the narcissist. It's a subtle difference, but one that I believe is critical to my hypothesis that NPD is the result of malformed concepts that rely too heavily on personal bias. The pure narcissist isn't thinking, but I'm me, I should have this, but rather just, I should have this in a way that makes them feel like that internal desire will make it happen or can be perceived by others. They're driven, not conceited. They feel as though others should just know they are worthy of things without demonstrating it, but we're not mind readers any more than they are. They do, in fact, need to show that they are capable or worthy just like everybody else. In a more sinister sense, they may perceive anything that others have received through hard work or talent as either worthless or that this is evidence that this good is a universal entitlement, which contradicts the purpose of anyone having skills at all. Good luck communicating that to a narcissist. This will often show up as scope shifts in conversation. For example, when you mention your raise at work, instead of congratulating you, the narcissist shifts the focus to the need for a minimum wage increase, right? You got a raise, well, everybody deserves a raise. Case in point one. Take, for instance, her attempt at passive aggression about my supposed use of GarageBand to produce music. Maybe I should just open GarageBand, play around, and see how it turns out, she snarkily mentioned to me one day. I don't remember the context of the conversation nor to what extent she knew this about me, though it was definitely directed at me as some sort of insult. I think she was starting to take issue with me working on music instead of hanging out with her, and in her mind, my music was not work, but rather just playing around. Likely a result of the fact that I never asked her to play my music on her radio show. To her, the show was important, but to me and to her listeners, right, our social circle, it was what it was, part of her assignment for a communications class. This bitch acting like she Rick Dees or something. Like, you are not Casey Kasem, get off my ass. Okay? Do it. It's not like it didn't come preloaded on your laptop, I coolly responded, adding a bit about how professional musicians actually do use GarageBand for the added oomph needed to be clear that I was calling her on her bullshit. I saw something recently about like a creator that I've seen a few of her videos and I think she's funny, and there's like some drama going on with her and like her collaborators, like now ex-boyfriend, thinking that like they still owe him money for like work that he did helping them produce their podcast. And one of those things was that he produced the music for the podcast. And she just kept saying, like, it was GarageBand, it was GarageBand, it was GarageBand. And it's like, I think people don't actually know enough about producing music. It's like, fuck me running. This is going to drive me insane. Okay, anyway. That when you buy a Macintosh computer that comes preloaded with their software, so not just like your Office suite stuff, so like Pages is like Word and Numbers is like Excel, et cetera, et cetera. You also get like iMovie and GarageBand and whatever. And this is why the fucking laptop costs $2,000 instead of like 200 for like an HP at Walmart. And I think that gets lost on people a little bit. So, like, of course, part of the cost of a Macintosh laptop is, and of course, I'm talking like a MacBook Pro, but obviously, like, even a MacBook Air, which is what she had, would come preloaded with GarageBand. And, like, so when you pay like thousands of dollars for an Apple laptop, like, you for a MacBook, right? You are paying for the hardware, right? The processing capacity and the RAM and the Retina visual, display cards and all of that jazz, right? But the softwares itself that come preloaded are also kind of part of that cost package because the machine is designed to be used by designing professionals. That so part of the problem is like not understanding that part of the reason your MacBook Air cost $1,500 and not just $500 is because it's designed to be professionally used by people doing shit with it, not just you fucking around watching porn and licking yourself, okay? It's supposed to be fucking you. It's like you don't pay for a Lamborghini to just drive at 30 miles an hour around your neighborhood, right? You buy it to find out what going 300 miles an hour feels like. So even if, right, like GarageBand isn't the premier digital audio workstation in the industry, it's leaps and bounds above dicking around on a $100 Casio keyboard with a tape deck, which my good friend and I did back in 2001, masterfully, I might add. However, we had a two-channel mixer. We plugged our both of our keyboards into it. We played our samples over and over and over. I'm telling you, man, you do that shit, you'll figure it out, right? So, like, even though some of the music that I was producing, it's going to get into more detail here in a second, was using GarageBand, I was actually making my samples. So this is the things I think people think that, oh, GarageBand is just preloaded with a bunch of sample sounds and you just slap them together and like, boom, you've made a song. You could also use the digital keyboard, and whatever. You could have just you could play your own shit into it. I think so. When I'm this conversation here is she also doesn't even understand the power that GarageBand has. So I kind of feel like it's a little bit metaphorical for whatever the original powers that be, whatever the fuck I'm doing, versus the Twilight Zone Casino Fight Club. She's taking it for granted that whatever the original mission was or is, because like I said, I don't fucking know what it is because of this jackass bitch, um, whatever the root thing going on was way more serious than she thought it was, because not just like because she was just taking it for granted that it wasn't that important, but also just because for whatever reason, as a result of like financial or like personal privilege of some sort, she was already like she has access to it just in virtue of having access to some of these things. So I feel like I'm getting a little lost in the weeds here on talking about like or getting to the heart of the, but you know what I'm saying? So like the privilege of having a MacBook Air to even know what GarageBand is in the first place. So like even for whatever reason being a member of the group of people who were privy to the person of interest mission gave her this false sense of it being not that important, which is a weird covert narcissism kind of thing, right? Where it's like, but if I just know about it, it's a thing that can just be known about, right? So now, like, you remember that of like the too much personal bias peppering the way that they understand the world. So it's not meant to be like it's not in a self-deprecating sense. It's just in that sense of like, but like if I've heard of it, it's a thing that people have heard of. Instead of thinking that you were part of an elite group of people that had heard of something, like that she was part of an in group that she then torched asunder and made them build some dumb fucking Barbie mansion, Twilight Zone Casino Fight Club, to be able to circumnavigate her dumb shit, right, and stuff. So, but I'm just saying, I was like, maybe this was kind of a metaphor for that. But she's like, I think Lila thinks that the original stuff is like way more important than it actually is anyway. Like, it's not even important. It's not that big of a deal, right? Like how he was like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, right? You're not good at this. Oh, well, it's not that big of a deal anyway. And it's like, no, it's a pretty big fucking deal, and you just aren't important enough to really know about it, right? So, but anyway, so back to this. So, like I said, do it. It's not like it didn't come preloaded on your laptop. I coolly responded, adding a bit about how professional musicians actually do use GarageBand for the added oomph needed to be clear that I was calling her on her bullshit. Little did she know that I use Logic Pro and also have a background in music theory, play multiple instruments, and can mix and master using hardware. I was hardly a novice, though anything that I could do that she couldn't, this sort of thing happened in reference to sewing at one point as well, was met with a dismissive aggression that frankly just made her look bad by calling attention to her own ignorance or just like lack of skills. Right. So that it's like just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean that you can act like knowing how to do it isn't a big deal. Right. And I think that that all kind of comes full circle with all of this a little bit. Right. That it's like if she's starting to get an inkling of maybe Lila is the person of interest. Well, if Lila's the person of interest, it must not actually just be that important. And then she'll stop caring about it. And it's like it's just a weird way to view the world around you. Her line of thinking was likely that since she owned a Mac and it came with GarageBand, and I had a Mac and it came with GarageBand, that I must use GarageBand. This was a wildly simplistic worldview, not to mention faulty logic. It was a little odd to me in an objective sense that she would compare the potential of her little 13-inch MacBook Air with my 17-inch iMac desktop. And so this was prior to 2010, right? So it's like, this bitch is thinking that because I'm driving a 10-year-old Lamborghini that I couldn't beat her Toyota in a fucking race just because they both have four wheels, right? And there was definitely she definitely had a malappropriate view of herself with respect to the world and the things going on around her. Eh, eh, There are two things related to grandiose entitlement that they had in common. The first is that they both seemed to think that their knowledge was a pinnacle of experience, and the second is that they both seemed to have trouble understanding that people actually do things. She really thought she was having a go at me with the GarageBand stuff, but as I said, it was odd that she would think that the extent of my arsenal stopped there. She was way too cocky for how naive she was, and she should have had some inkling that this was the case. One day she showed me a video by Group X on YouTube, and I told her that we used to watch their videos all the time back in 2000 when I was a freshman in college. She scoffed at me and pointed out, this video was just added to YouTube in 2007. She said that to me like I must be incredibly stupid to think she would believe my bullshit, but she shoveled more shit than a peon at a feedlot. And Flash movies like this have been around far longer than YouTube. Why don't you take a look at Ebaum's World and Albino Black Sheep? I coolly responded, dumb bitch. I mean, like, she just opened herself up to this all the time. But actually, Kelly, this video was just uploaded to YouTube in 2007. It's like, you mean the day YouTube was fucking created? Or premiered, I guess I should say. It was like, yeah, you mean like it was put on YouTube the second it became the fuck available? Like, there, videos existed on the internet before YouTube. Jeez. And it's just like, I don't understand how you can be 20 years old talking to someone who's 28 years old as though the 28-year-old grown-ass woman doesn't know herself, her own experiences, and what the fuck she's talking about. I don't know why she thought I was bullshitting her all the time. Right. So, like I said, some of these are like, this is clues to the fact that she was up to her neck in bullshit. Something I was watching earlier today. It was so fun. Oh, it was one of the Bistro Huddy reels. It made a line. He's like you seem to think that just because you told me that bullshit is made of grass, that you just like made my day or something like that, right? That's like her in a nutshell. Like she thinks she's awesome because she knows bullshit is made of grass. I mean, and it was just bizarre. But anyway, the thing that's funny to me too is like I don't even know how or like even her finding this Group X video. It was 55, and which was kind of a like low key viral classic back in like the very early 2000s, right? So like how she ever came across it and then liked it enough to even show me to have this conversation in the first place was a little bit strange, in my opinion. Like I don't. It's not that I would. It's not like she didn't like see funny videos and like show them to me, but it felt a little bit like a setup. Like somebody put her up to that to be told, "Oh yeah, oh my God, me and my friends used to watch these videos all the time on E-Bombs World," and that she would have something snarky to say, right? Oh yeah, you should put her in her place when she tries to tell you she saw this 7 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, you should try it. You should try. Try. Because, and I feel like, because think about it, if you were cocksure that you were right in a situation like this, and somebody pushed you, was like, you should just try to put Kat in her place about lying about having seen this video 10 years ago. Right, you should try it, because I know for a fact we watched this a long time ago. So it's going to be a little hard to tell me that I don't remember what I was doing as a freshman in college. I think I'm remembering pretty accurately that I've seen this before. Um, Never mind that this may not have been the only instance of this video on YouTube either. YouTube started in 2005. There wasn't even a YouTube when I was a freshman. Imagine someone telling you now, though, that the video you claim to have seen in 2007 was just added in 2020, so you must be full of shit when the same video could be on YouTube dozens, if not hundreds of times. There are many reasons why what she said that day was stupid to a degree that the attitude she put behind it only served to amplify how stupid she looked. She really thought she had everyone around her intellectually over a barrel, and it was so embarrassing. Yeah, so in other words, that's a really pompous sounding sentence, but she really thought she had everyone around her intellectually over a barrel, and it was so like she really thought she was the smartest person in the room, but was consistently being fooled into saying and doing dumb shit. Case in point two, I consider myself a pretty savvy shopper. I grew up poor and have lived on my own within my means for several years by clipping coupons, paying attention to what's on sale, and shopping at cheaper stores like Aldi instead of Safeway. Until I lived with him, I had never encountered someone who sucked so much at shopping. He had trouble understanding the price tags, the specials, seemed to be leery of store brand items, spent entirely too much on junk, fell hard for marketing propaganda. Basically, every single bad habit someone could have when it comes to sticking to a budget and recognizing value, he had a lion's share of, right? So, and like I said too, like just recognizing value. Like everyone's, it's like they have documentaries now that talk about how like the name brand and store brand food is literally made in the same plant, and the only difference is that the name brand uses more colorful packaging and the national marketing, like commercials on TV, and that's the only reason it's more expensive and shit. That it's like you could literally find from several sources anywhere that it's the same shit, and it still didn't matter. Like he would swear up and down that malto meal frosted flakes were not as good as Kellogg's frosted flakes and stuff like. And it's just like, dude, like there's barely a difference. Like it's so strange. I, on the other hand, worked in the store, so I received a 10% discount, which basically just covered tax. The store used it covered the tax and then gave you a 5% discount, basically, right? The store used their club card to issue this discount, so anytime he shopped, he received it too by using my card. So when I shopped, I selected meat items that were in the manager's special bin, which was usually meat with a sell-by date within 48 hours. I built meals around these meat items with other products that were also on sale, purchased the store brand versions of products, bought proper amounts of produce, kept my eyes on the racks for reduced items, stocked up on non-perishable items when they were on sale, and used my store deals as often as possible. The receipts displayed the amount that you saved, as in, like, you saved XX% today. Sometimes I would get as high as 50%. He, on the other hand, never saved this much because he was buying things like the 20-ounce bottles of soda that cost more than a 2-liter, name brand boxes of cereal, canned corned beef, which for some reason is $8 fucking. It's closer to 11 now. Locally produced eggs that cost twice as much as the store brand. You get the idea. He just wasn't frugal. His reaction to my ability to get so much for so little was astonishing. They never give me deals like that. This happened, like he literally would say that. He'd see the receipt when I would come back from shopping and it'd be like, you saved 43% today. And he'd be like, they never give me deals like that. This happened more than once, despite the fact that every time this exchange occurred, I pointed out that it depends on what you're buying, not who you are. Eventually, he became dismissive. I know, he'd say while waving his hand at me like, oh, fuck you and shut up. It's actually pretty self-deprecating to continue setting forth this idea that the price you pay at the grocery store has something to do with who you are as opposed to what you're doing. This petty dismissal of someone else's ability to do something that is relatively common knowledge was just plain bizarre. It is also a great example of covert victim narcissism. Instead of learning to be better at something, he chose to be a lazy son of a bitch who threw temper tantrums about his own obvious flaws. He literally chose being an asshole over learning how to clip a coupon. I'm just gonna keep going, even though like my phone is at 14%, so I'm gonna just keep pressing on. The proverbial light bulb joke. This is the big one from a neurological standpoint, in my opinion, even though I've allocated the meat of the sandwich with respect to this criterion to the next trait. Self centeredness permeates the way they perceive and interpret everything. The neurological underpinnings and the expression of deep seated, self centered perception is discussed overall in the other traits. I'm going to use this section to point out two seemingly minor problems that I've only ever experienced while living with the two people that I feel qualify for a diagnosis of NPD and are connected to self centeredness. These behavioral tics also qualify as covert entitlement. So these two cases in point are specific behaviors they both did, as opposed to like anecdotal stories about each of them. Case in point one is lazy disorganization. This is the propensity to do things half-assed in such a way that it impedes the use of others in a common area or that bastardizes the efficiency of a product or service. This happens at all levels of daily life, from not properly using the organizational capabilities of the dish drainer or silverware tray, to calling a cab and insisting that the driver find the dark back alley entrance that requires them to go through a security checkpoint because the narcissist can't be bothered to walk 10 yards to the porte cochere. There is also a proclivity to leaving common items almost empty, or your dishes unwashed in the sink after they use them. 4 squares of toilet paper left on the roll, ignore. Soap dispenser on the bathroom counter almost empty. I didn't know there was a refill bottle. 2 spoonfuls of cereal left in the box. Who, me? 1 tablespoon of milk left in the carton when the person who empties it is responsible for buying a new one. But I didn't need it all for my cereal. Use your car all week while their car is in the shop but never give you money for gas. But I brought you leftovers from work. There's always a reason not to share the common chores or an excuse for somehow escaping common courtesy, especially when money is involved. Case in point two, appropriation of belongings. I've never understood how a seemingly intelligent adult would actually believe that I can't keep track of my own shit. How would I not know which dishes belong to me, or that you're using my shampoo, or that you're eating my food? I had a set of 4 cheap wine glasses. I probably paid less than $5 for them at Walmart. She got on this smoothie kick and started making a huge batch and then putting them into my wine glasses and then into the freezer. No surprise when they started breaking. She had broken at least 2 of them this way, maybe even 3 of the 4, before I said something about using my wine glasses in this manner. It was probably 3. And I was like, I need to rescue my last $1.50 wine glass before I have to just go buy new ones. And so I finally said something. Her response, they're my wine glasses. Oh, and she dead ass meant it too. Okay. So I was floored, not only from the assertion that they belonged to her, but the gall with which she told me that my belongings were hers. What the heck is going on? How fucking delusional do you have to be? I can see mistaking a pair of socks or thinking the cupcakes I made for an office party were actually for your birthday or something that makes reasonable sense to misappropriate, but actually coming to believe that my housewares are yours? So fucking weird, right? How do you suddenly just decide that you have always been the owner of my dishes? I mean, like it's just bizarre. I also had like I had this set of like multicolored Christmas lights that she wanted to use as like for decoration in her room, and so I let her use them. And then when we were moving out and I asked for them back, she insisted that they were just her Christmas lights. And it was just like, what the fuck is wrong with this girl that she keeps thinking that my stuff is hers? But now here's the thing that gets me about the wine glasses, right? Twilight Zone, Casino, Fight Club, right? Pop quiz. How could you metaphorically interpret wine glasses, right? Rose-colored glasses. My optimism, like my ability to see the positive side of what the fuck is going on. That's what she took from me because she genuinely thought they were hers. So this was her opportunity to tell me metaphorically, like to my face. But it's weird, right? Because remember what I was saying in the last episode about but how do you not, like, that it seems like there would be something about the information that they had that should have indicated to them that they're not the person of interest, right? So, how do you, though, not know that in order to metaphorically make that point, you've had to actually you've had to actually, I don't want to say steal, I feel like that's not fair. You have to actually use and then mistreat and break my actual belongings in real life in order to set up the scenario in which you can tell me that they're your wine glasses, not mine, and that I should stop thinking that she should give them to me. Now, there was a weird situation. I say weird, I don't know. It seemed weird to me. I had this cute pair of pink sunglasses that one day we and like other people, like at the philosophy department, had like a guest speaker or something. And the following day, after being at the guest speaker, my pink sunglasses were on the chalk railing of the chalkboard. I know, right? Oh my God, but still, yeah, it was like 2010 and they had an actual chalkboard in the main like philosophy classroom. Um, and I'm like, dude, I know that those were in my bag in such a way that like I would have had to have like been in the bathroom and someone went into my bag to steal them in order to put them on the chalkboard. So it's almost like that behind the scenes, somebody was getting her to do stuff that was telling me what was going on, which is something that I suspected for a while, right? Um, but going through what I've been through and doing what I've done without these quote unquote rose colored glasses has been so bad that I actually question that if this is so important that it was worth still forcing me to do it, even though I was doing it in the dark. It's been so bad that I highly, highly question that judgment. And yes, we are talking collateral damage. Um, And that's all I'm going to say. I think that most people will be able to pick up what I'm putting down here. Um, Now, it's entirely possible. Hey guys, how you doing? It's entirely possible that whatever she had done couldn't be undone, right? So that wouldn't have taken care of, like, the damage was done, right? There's no use crying over spilled milk. Once the milk was spilled, it was game over. Um, and the best that they could hope for or do was getting me as much information as they possibly could and hoping for the best and hoping for an outcome that people can live with, and that also, though, in the end, like, she'll get her just desserts for taking it for granted that whatever this is wasn't that important. Because there was a time, like probably like the last time I talked to her back in 2015, so about 10 years ago, and we were on the phone, and she very adamantly said to me, so the apartment that we lived in after we moved out, the landlord ended up taking this had to do with the third roommate doing stuff that caused so much damage that the the landlord took us to court for to go above and beyond our security deposit. And so, but I was already in Hawaii, and so when all of that was, by the time all of that was done, I had already like gone down the rabbit hole, like I'd gone down the gutter ditch already. And so then when I was talking to her after our, here we go, starting over again. Okay, anyway, but like, it's like I can still hear her saying, "I'm not getting fucked on this tab," and thinking, it's like this is the conversation, right? So Of the additional, I'm just going to make up amounts in my head because I don't remember exactly what it was. Um, because I had also, like, against the lease policy, I had hung, like, some stuff in the bathroom and in my bedroom that then required, like, repairing holes and repainting the room. So, um, of the, like, additional several $100s that we had to pay above and beyond our security deposit, $75 of it was her responsibility. Mine was like 113, and our third roommate, Brooke, hers was like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Okay, but she kept thinking that for some reason she was going to get stuck paying my portion of the bill. That's how she was playing this. And then she just, because she's like, I'm not getting fucked on this cat. I'm like, I don't know why you would think you would. It's like $115. Like, if anything, because my parents had actually gone, and this is weird, they wouldn't go for my college graduation or anything like that, but unnecessarily they drove all the way to Manhattan to be there on my behalf in court against this fucking landlord, this slumlord. And so it was like it's like my parents have already said, because they knew what was going on with me. I think they know a lot more than they're fucking willing to let on too, if you get my drift. What was I made for? I genuinely think sometimes that I was born to do that. Like, people are like, it's the role she was born to play. I was literally born to do this. Like, whoever came up with this shit, they just decided, you know what? You two, we want you to have a baby, and we're just gonna fuck your kid over. Like, that's how I ended up here. But I remember my 4 questions for Wraithline, like, what is this? Why are they doing it? Who's doing it? And how the fuck did I get chosen? I was just chosen by some stupid fucking birthright dumb shit. Right? That's why I like using the princess metaphor. It's like being born and being expected to do all of this crap that, like, no one in their right mind would actually just agree to if they were living a normal life. Um, but I digress. Um, all that being said, um, which would be another reason why, that it's like the fact that these people are thinking that they could take my spot, when how I got my spot is that, like, my entire life has essentially, like, I was raised in a way that gave me the skills to do, like, no one can. Oh, damn it. Okay, again. But anyway, just go with me on this. I'm not experiencing some sort of, like, religious grandiose delusion. Just bear with me here. Um, that as much as, like, Jesus was the result of a virgin birth, but he was also always then slated to, like, die on the cross, right, and whatnot. That so my dad's middle name is Joseph, my mom's middle name is Marie, and my middle name is Christine. That's my weird tether to that idea of this. That, or it's like when you watch, because, like, I like horror movies. I was raised on horror movies and stuff, and that the whole, like, satanic ritual always involves, like, impregnating a virgin with the spawn of Satan. But that, like, whatever the fuck this is, and whoever's doing it, I really think that they were just like, these are the two people that are going to give birth to the person we're going to make do whatever this is that I'm doing. We're just gonna make their life fucking miserable and see how they handle it. Like, I don't know. I don't have the slightest fucking idea what this is. So anyway, all that being said, I yeah, it's one of those, like, no one can take this from me. So them thinking that they were the person of interest was, like, kind of there's got, I feel like there's a reason it was extremely dumb of them to even think that they were either the person of interest to begin with, or that this is something they could have taken from me, because it just wasn't possible, and for some reason they couldn't get that through their thick heads. All right, I'm at 10%. It's a little close to 5. I need to head back to the gym to collect my stuff. That might actually be the bus coming, and so I will continue this next time. Bye.